record. Okay, so first things first, I wanted to get us situated with Zoom because that's where we're all gathering. Oh, I wanted to mute everybody for a sec. I'm gonna mute everybody. Mute upon entry. Okay. So first things first, in the bottom of your Zoom window, there's a few buttons, and we'll cover some of them as we get into this, but one of the most important ones that I want you all to have access to is the chat. So if you click the chat, you'll be able to chat with everybody. I think, let me just make sure everyone's muted. You'll be able to chat with everybody, and in particular, what we're going to use the chat for are questions. So as I'm going through stuff, if you have questions, you can leave them in the chat. You can also say hello to everybody. You can also chat privately with people if you care to. You can click on their face and then you can send them a message. And if you hover over people's faces, there's a little ellipse that you can click on. You can rename yourself, which is always a good idea when you're starting. You can suggest to your students that they can rename themselves just to make sure you know who's who, just in case. So what we're gonna do is I invited you all to a Mural, and that's one of the tools that I'm going to be sharing with you. For now, I'm just going to share my screen, and I'm also going to talk about how to share your screen and how to do things like that. But for now, I'm just going to share my screen so that you're all looking at what I'm looking at. And so this is a mural. A mural is, I call it a digital whiteboard. It's a place that, it's a tool that I use to bring lots of people together to, the work that I do is in the innovation space. So I use Mural as a place to bring lots of ideas, voices of people, manage conversations, bring designs and what different things looks like. And then we can bring it into the shared space and people can see it, and it becomes a visual conversation. So it's a really powerful tool. And we'll talk a little bit more about Mural as we get into it. So as a quick start, what I did is I grabbed all of your questions. Thank you for leaving those in Eventbrite. I grabbed all of them and I dropped them in here. And what we'll do is if we didn't cover some of these questions in tonight's call, I'll go back and maybe some of the other folks that are helping me out and go back and we'll leave answers to those questions. And then we'll leave this Mural active and available for you all. So you can go back into it. So this is the Q&A section that you're looking at. What we also started to do was to gather up the resources that we use. So what I know is that there's a universe of tools and technology in the education space. And I'm definitely not an expert on all of those, but I do use a few in my work. And I thought that they would be useful in the stuff that you all are doing with your students and your new classrooms. For the most part, I'm going to cover three things: Zoom, which we're on right now, Loom, which is another video recording software, and then Mural, which is what we're looking at right now. And then there's some other resources that we've started to gather up. Alex created a website that has a lot of this information and then some, which is really cool that he did that, and then some other links in here. I just wanted to also introduce myself and let Alex and Stephanie and Santi quickly introduce themselves. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. We'll just have to unmute everybody and hope that it doesn't cause chaos. So I'm Jay Malone. I run a company in Freehold, New Jersey, and there's a couple teachers from Freehold on the call. New Haircut is it's not what it sounds like. It's an innovation strategy firm. And so I use all of these tools in the work that I do. And as crazy as it sounds, not much has changed for me in my work. This is traditionally actually how I work. This is my home office that I'm sitting in. And a lot of the teams that I work with, like Alex, like Stephanie, they work in these highly distributed companies. And sometimes they hire me to come in and help either train or consult and coach with their teams. And their teams are often distributed all around the place, all around the world. So I set up and organize my workshops and sessions using a lot of these tools. Let me try to unmute and see how this works. And then Alex and Stephanie and Santi, you guys can say something about yourselves. Give me a sec. Okay, Alex, I unmuted you, I think. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, so my name is Alex Perez. I'm the director of user experience at Macmillan Learning. So I build and design educational software. I'm pretty familiar with most educational software out there. I'm also an adjunct instructor, so I'm a teacher as well. So I teach at NYU. I lead a distributed team and also teach sort of a blended learning course. So most of my work happens online using a lot of these tools. So I'm trying to best to sort of share my knowledge. My wife is also a teacher as well, so which is so many resources because I've been trying to help her on board, and my sister is also in the crowd too, so I'm trying to help her as well. So as I help them, I try to help more people. And thank you to Jay for inviting me.
Cool. Thanks, Alex. Stephanie, you want to go? Wait, did I unmute you? Hold on. Oh, sorry. Thought I did. There you go.
Hey everyone, my name is Stephanie Allen. I am Vice President of Product Management at Pearson. Pearson is a huge educational publisher, but my business unit delivers full-time virtual schools. We have several dozen schools across the country, and our 80,000 students study online all the time, all year round. So bringing learning to the virtual classroom is our bread and butter. And I'm excited to be here and also appreciate Jay putting this together to help some teachers out.
Thanks. Go ahead, Santi.
Hey everyone, my name is Santi Karasami. Yeah, Jay, thanks for putting this together, and thanks to all the teachers for joining us, all the educators. So I'm the founder of a company called Project Recess, and we're a consulting company that partners with the largest school system in the nation, New York City Public Schools. So I work with them as well as Google. So I'll train schools on how to use tools like Google Classroom and all the G Suite for Education tools and how to implement those in the classroom. And we're getting hit really hard right now because we're essentially told to switch to online learning. I'm sure everyone here is in that same boat. So yeah, just here to share what I know and here to learn from everyone else also.
Thanks, Santi. Okay. Our contact information is up over here in the volunteer section. So if you have questions specifically that you want to follow up with any of us, feel free, hit us up and we'll do our best to get back to you guys. And we're also going to capture a lot of these questions and add our answers over here. So what I thought I'd do for the next 15 minutes or so is to walk you through the 3 tools that I mentioned earlier. First with Zoom, and then we'll get into Loom, and we'll end with Mural a little bit. So first thing, when you're getting set up with Zoom, so this is a little bit tricky. I can't share with you the Zoom controls because when I share my screen, it doesn't actually show you the Zoom controls that I'm seeing. So what I did is I took screenshots of all of these things. So I'm going to step you through these features inside of Zoom. And then you can there's a picture of them in the Mural so that you can see what they look like and we can look at those together. So the first thing that we can do, you can set up different controls with your video. So at the bottom, there's a video control and you can choose not only which camera you're using to access, but there's a bunch of additional add-ons that you can add to Zoom. One of them is Snap Camera. It's a lot of fun. You saw Alex and I, for those that were on early, you saw Alex and I having fun with some of those. So let me show you what that looks like. So if I go into Snap Camera, and the kids might have fun with this because a lot of the questions that you all had was about keeping the kids engaged. So with Snap Camera, you can do things like turn yourself into a pickle or do a lot of other silly things. Actually, I can't see what I look like. Give me 1 second. Yeah, okay. So now I'm a pickle and I can dance around. So there's also virtual backgrounds. So the kids can have fun with this and they can make Zoom their own just to make the classroom a little bit more fun and engaging and personalized. So those are video settings. And in the Mural, let me turn myself back into a human. So in next to the virtual backgrounds, there's a link to Snap Camera if you wanted to. It's free and you can share that with other teachers and your kids in the classroom. The other thing that could be important is recording. So if you're setting up Zoom calls with individual students or with groups of students, like I know my youngest son's teacher is setting up Zoom calls with 3 and 4 groups of students. But if you wanted to record those because one student couldn't make them, then there's the ability to record the calls. I'm also going to talk about Loom, which allows you to record in advance. So that's recording, and that's another control that's at the bottom of the screen. And there's options to record on your computer, record to the cloud. I tend to record to my computer so that I have control and access to that file. There have been times when my network went down and then I lost access to the cloud recording, or something else got screwed up a bit, uploading up to the cloud. So I tend to record on my computer. So that's another feature that comes with Zoom. Another feature that is interesting, if you can get it to work, there's a lot of feedback from my crowd that we're trying to give back to Zoom about breakout rooms. What breakout rooms allows you to do is, if you were splitting, if you had the whole class inside of a single Zoom room and you wanted to split them up into groups or quads or something to work together or work separately from the whole classroom, you could put them out, you could put them into breakout rooms. So I think if most of your classrooms are 20 to 30 students and you're not working with hundreds of students at a time, then I would opt to use the manual setting. So when you click breakout rooms, the control at the bottom ribbon, you'll get this pop-up that you'll see. And automatic for me has been a little clunky and unreliable. So when you get into manual, then this next window pops up. And everyone in the breakout room everyone in the meeting will be listed here, and then you can assign them to different rooms. And that puts students into their own rooms. And you can name the room, and you can drop into the rooms. The students, while they're in rooms, will be able to click a button to ask you a question, and you can drop into each of the rooms to help and support them. What else? So when we all got into this Zoom room, I have the ability to manage all of the attendees. And that can be important if there's a test that you're doing together or something and you need everybody to come into the room. You want to mute everybody. If you want to mute people, mute students upon entry so that it's quiet. If you're starting off quietly and you want to make sure everyone is muted, you can do that. And there's a bunch of controls in there for you as well. This allows you to also see everybody that's in the room, and you can mute people, you can turn their video on and off. You can also exit people from the meeting if you need to. So that's managing attendees. Similar to that for you is the chat. So as I said a few minutes ago, if you have questions as I'm going through this, use the chat to drop some questions in there. And then when we get into the Q&A portion of this, we'll go through those and we'll answer any questions that popped up. So that's the chat, and that should be at the bottom ribbon, and you'll see a little chat window, a little chat button. The other thing is, once you have your Zoom set up, you want to invite folks to it. I keep saying folks, and I keep forgetting that these are kids and students. Folks doesn't sound right. When you want to invite students to your Zoom calls, there's a little invite button down here, and you have a couple options for doing that. You can do it by email. I tend to click the copy URL button, and then I'll add that to calendar invites or emails or your Google Docs, wherever you're sending out the invites for those Zoom calls. What I find to be really, really helpful is if you're using the Google Suite, within Google Calendar, you can add this Gmail plugin. And then what happens is when you're in your calendar invite, there's a blue Zoom button that says to conduct the meeting within Zoom. And then that adds all the information for the Zoom meeting right inside of the calendar invite. So you don't have to do it in multiple steps. It's just part of your invitation process and everything's set up. And doing that inside of the calendar actually creates the Zoom event in Zoom itself. So it's one click, and that's made my life a lot easier. Okay, sharing screens. Also, this is probably, I think this is probably the most important feature for what you all are trying to do. So there's a few options when you're sharing. Let me zoom into these. So at the bottom, you'll see that there's a little green share button. When you click that, this is what pops up. For me, I have my desktop, my laptop, and I have a second monitor. So I can choose to show one monitor or two. I don't think you can show both at the same time. I'm not sure about that. Zoom also has its own whiteboard, but I haven't used it much because I used Mural, and Mural is a proper whiteboard. I think this thing is kind of light and maybe a little bit more simple to use. And then there's a couple other options that are built in. You could also go to advanced, and there's a couple neat things in here. So within advanced, if you're sharing a document and you don't want to share the entire portion of it, maybe if there's a specific thing and then there's answers to the questions that are below it, you could share a section of the screen so that the students can't see the entire document, or they can't see outside of the document if you have other things that are open. This is kind of nice too. So what I do in a lot of my meetings, when it's time for reflection or it's time for individual quiet thinking, I'll open up Spotify and I'll play a playlist, and you can choose to click computer sound only. And what that does is it streams music from your computer into their speakers, which is nice and fun. So those are a couple more things. While you're sharing, you can also annotate. So once you click share, this is the ribbon up here will turn into this up here. You can pause sharing. You can open up and do polls, which is separate from sharing. I'll talk about that later. But annotate is a nice feature. So when you click annotate, you get all these features. Spotlight is nice. It turns your cursor into a red. Let me actually show you what that looks like. Spotlight. Yeah, so now you can see there's a little red tracker that's following me. So you can call attention to it. There was a lot of discussion about keeping students engaged. So this is one way to just make sure they know where you are, which is really important because it's easy for them to get lost. Zoom also has a feature. I'm not sure if it's out of beta, but it's a feature that you set in your account settings. So I will say this. There's a lot of controls inside of Zoom, and then there's also a whole list of features that you have to go into the website, and you can toggle features on and off. It's a little overwhelming at first, and you just have to experiment and play around with them. There's one that's called something about engagement, and it will alert you. I think if I were looking at all of your faces, I'm looking at the screen here, but if I were looking at all of your faces, I think what it does is it lights people up that are not currently looking at the Zoom call. So if you go into your email, or if the students start playing a game or watching a video on YouTube, which is more likely, their face might light up. I'm not sure what it exactly looks like, but it will alert you that they're no longer paying attention. So that's one way to monitor and know which of your students has lost focus. But this is the annotate feature. Okay. Polling is another thing. So if you wanted to set up a poll, so if you were teaching a lesson and you wanted to check in that the students understand it, you can use within the, let me show you what this looks like. In the participant section, there's the ability for students to just say yes, no, that they understand what you're talking about. I suppose they can also tell you to go faster if you're talking too slowly or slow down. But then otherwise, if you wanted to set up a poll, you could click the polling option, and then you can pose a question, and you can set up different answers that the students can choose an answer to. And then that poll can get shared back with them so that everybody can see how things are looking and what the responses are. Hang on, I'm stuck. That's as quick of an overview as I can do about Zoom. And I also wanted to quickly cover Mural and Loom, and then I wanted to stop so that we can spend some time answering your questions about specific things that you're trying to do. So let me do a couple things. Okay. That's pretty much Zoom. What we did is we left some links in here. specifically Zoom for Education, because I think as of now, I think they're giving it away for free to all K through 12 schools. And then I also left a link to the app marketplace, which is like all the add-ons like Snap Camera, et cetera, that you can experiment and play around with. So there's a link in there for that. So that's Zoom. And then there's Loom. I'm not sure why they rhyme, but they do. I don't think it's intentional. What I use Loom for is if I wanted to pre-record some lessons or anything really. What Loom allows you to do is there's a plugin that gets installed. I'm on a Mac. I'm not sure if it looks differently on a Windows machine, but in Loom, a plugin gets installed and then that becomes available right here. And when you click it, again, I can't show you what it looks like because you wouldn't be able to see the controls. When you click it, this is what you'll see. And so you can, there's a few different options. You can record your screen and a camera, screen only, or just your camera. And then you can select if you have multiple monitors, your video settings, your audio, your mic settings. And once you click start recording, it'll give you a countdown, 3, 2, 1, and then you'll be live and recording. If you were to choose screen and camera, your face would appear down here. I think you can move this bubble around. You can make it bigger or smaller, but this is what it would look like as you started to record a Loom video. And then once you're done, and here are the Loom controls over here. So you can stop recording, pause, or you can delete altogether. And I think this is to annotate. Once you stop the recording, then in your Loom account, that video will get uploaded, and then you can do a bunch of things with it. So you can download it, you can name it and rename it, you can add descriptions to it, and then ultimately you can copy the link and share that with your students. So if you were creating virtual lessons, as opposed to doing live calls over Zoom, if you want to record a bunch of lessons and then share those with kids, Loom is a really nice feature. And what's cool is you'll get notified as your students, you'll see this little notification bubble up here, you'll get notified as students are watching the videos. So you know, I'm not sure if it tells you who is watching it, but it'll notify you how many times and how many times it's been watched. That's more or less Loom. Alex mentioned that he has a pro account to Loom, and there's a couple more features in here. So I think he was going to leave an additional resource about Loom, the Loom Pro account. And I'm not sure about pricing on those things. Altogether, I'm not sure what you all are allowed to be using right now. I'm just sharing the tools that I think are low bar and otherwise not expensive. Okay. And the final tool that I wanted to cover, just spend 2 or 3 minutes on this, is Mural. So inside of Mural, I actually organized myself for this event by using Mural. So I collected all of I gave a space for question and answer. I've collected all the resources that I wanted to share with you. I collected our faces and links. So you can drop really any asset that you can take a picture of, a video of, that you can grab a link of, you can bring into a mural. So it becomes almost like a dashboard, a hub of all the things that you want to collect and share. You can use Google Docs similarly, but what's very different from Google Docs and from Mural is that content can be, I've locked a lot of this content down, but content can be moved around. You can add notes to it. You can comment on it. So it's much more of a visual conversation. And then there's all these controls inside of Mural. So if you wanted to add, it's basically like a digital whiteboard with lots of Post-its. So if you wanted to add a comment in here, right, you could say something like, Joey, make sure you do your math assignment, or whatever. Really, you can do with Mural whatever you imagine you'd like to do. What I will say is if you're interested in Mural, they also have an educational version of the software or educational pricing. And there's a lot of resources out there on Mural. I can't think, what I should do, there's an ebook from Mural that which is great. It talks about remote facilitation and remote workshops. So I'll be sure to add that in here. In fact, I'm going to leave a note for myself. Add Mural ebook. Okay. Before we break for Q&A, Alex, Stephanie, Santi, is there anything I went like a million miles an hour. I'm sure there's 50 things for each thing that I forgot. Is there like one important thing that I glossed over that you want to let everybody know about? I hope I didn't mute you again. Did I mute you? Yes. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah. So something that, I mean, there's a lot that Zoom and specifically Zoom offers. So to some of the stuff that Jay was mentioning, you should definitely go into the admin panel, get familiar with the settings page. There's gonna be a lot of toggles there. Kind of read down those, and you'll see like some of the things that he mentioned, like interruption screen, breakouts, all those sorts of things. And when you first start off, you're only gonna have a couple buttons, but as you add more features, you're gonna have more and more buttons. With Loom, something that you can do is create a video. You can add it. I saw in here somewhere like assessment and things like that. Like you can create a video, like a video recording, and then you can add it to like Google Classroom, and then add an assessment with that. So, and then you just add instruction text, like watch the video and then answer the questions or something like that. So that's how you would do an assessment here. Loom also has a free account for instructors. The Pro account just gives you a few other features. I dropped a video on the right-hand side. You can watch. I videotaped myself using all the new Pro features. So definitely look in there. And then I also have a website that I've been compiling. Instead of just answering one-off emails, I've just been answering it and plugging it into a website. I've compiled a bunch of stuff there regarding Zoom. Like every feature that I could think of that a teacher has asked me about is there so far, and I'll add some more after I've seen some of these stickies.
I think the only thing I would add is that a lot of my colleagues actually end up using Zoom and Zoom recordings as a way to record stuff really easily. You just jump into the room, even if it's just you, you can do your screen share on the screen and then save and send that out very easily as well.
Yeah, I've been on a lot of calls with like schools and staff, and they've been using Zoom because of the main feature. You can mute everyone. It's a very simple option, but man, it's a game changer. So the fact that you can mute everyone as a host, that's a really great feature if you plan on doing this with a lot of folks.
I guess, Jay, the other thing, I don't know if you showed it, but the ability to like raise your hand, like when you are muted, there's a nonverbal cues that you can do. So in that participation view, there on the bottom, you'll see the ability to raise your hand. So, you know, so I could raise my hand, and what Jay would see on his screen is an alert that says Alex is raising their hands. Or they can also do things, which is actually really interesting, which is like you can, students could say like slow down, or, you know, things like that, slow down, take a break, you know, things like that, where you would, if you were in a classroom, you'd be able to like see that visually. This is the way to kind of express that in a sort of digital form.
Awesome. So let's see. I count 28 comments. So if it makes sense, let's start. What I'm going to do is just plow through these questions, and we'll try to get to them all. And like I said, if we don't have time for it, I wanted to leave 5 minutes at the end just to recap what we're going to do after this, and just close out. So what we'll do is we'll go through all the questions, and if we don't get time to do them, we'll leave them in the Q&A section over in the Mural, and then you can come back to it later and check out the answers that we left. So I'm just going to take them from the top, and let's see, lots of hellos. Oh, hey, Ward. Where's Ward? There he is. Ward is actually here from Mural. You're in the education team? I didn't realize that you were part of that. You want to just say a quick thing about Mural in case?
No, again, Jay, you did a great job. So again, thank you for organizing.
All right, cool. Yeah. So Ward, would you mind do you mind leaving a sticky? I don't know if you're the right person to leave this, but do you want to leave your contact information in case any of the folks have questions?
I I put it in the chat. So wardb@mural.co. So if everybody's following there, I didn't actually get access. Maybe I joined a minute or two late, Jay, to get access to the link to the actual mural. But yeah, by any means, any of the wonderful people here on this Zoom are welcome to reach out to me. And as I chimed in on the chat, if you go to mural.co/education, teachers and students can get free accounts there. So,
and here's one thing to know: go into the chat, and on the bottom, all the way at the bottom where you would type in your message, there's a little ellipse to the right. If you click that, the top, there's a feature called Save Chat. So at the end of this, before I close down the meeting, if you click Save Chat, you'll get a transcript of everything that was dumped in here, including Ward's email and any of the questions that got answered. Or asked, I should say.
Jay, I had a couple of things. I'm just going through these stickies. I did want to, I noticed there's a lot of STEM things in there. So my wife actually teaches math, and one of my best friends teaches science. So a couple of things that you can do with Zoom is, and I actually do it for my class when I do like paper prototyping and stuff, is you can create you can have your webcam, and then you can also join with your phone. And then I have a little tripod, and I mute the tripod, I mute the phone, and I have the phone looking down on paper. And I'm able to, because the thing is mathematics, like math and science and things like that, is very difficult to do on a keyboard, like writing equations and things like that. So if you want to do sort of like a Khan Academy thing, you can just have the camera shining down at on your table with a Sharpie, and you can just sort of write, and people can, then you can pin that view, so all the students will be seeing that camera view specifically. And I have a bunch of different ways that you can do that sort of stuff on the website as well. I did that for my wife. And then also for science, like one of my good friends is a science teacher, 8th grade science teacher. So there's it's called PHET, P-H-E-T. I have it at one of the links. They have open source HTML5 browser-based science simulations. So you can do something like this, give kids some simulations, maybe have them like do a breakout room, have them experiment with the simulations, come up with some sort of written sort of task, come back, report back. If you want to do sort of like a think, pair, share type activity, and then sort of bring them back, similar to what you would do in class. So that's the best I could find so far for my friend, and he's pretty happy with it so far.
Cool, thanks, Alex. Okay. I'm starting to look at some of the questions. So the first two actually are about, the first question was about breakout rooms. Shirley, you said you didn't see it in your version of Zoom. So let me share with you what I'm looking at. So this is actually my plan. I'm on the Pro plan, which gives me, there's one host, that's me, and I can have meetings that include up to 100 participants. Let me turn on the Annotate thing here. So I can have up to 100 participants, and it's $14.99 per month. I know that Breakout Rooms comes with this Pro plan. I'm not sure if on the free.
I think Zoom is offering free accounts for teachers right now, even the Pro accounts.
Free Pro?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. So you should have it. So then, yeah, it could be a setting in, could be a setting that you have to turn on. Yeah, like Alex and I have said, there's so many settings in here. Let me just show you really quickly. Let's see. Yeah, so this is the list of settings that you'll be excited to go through. So let me do a quick search. Breakout. Yeah, so Breakout Rooms is something that you have to enable. But thanks, Stephanie, for letting us know. Okay, let me stop sharing. I think that answers Lori's question as well about basic plan versus Pro. Hopefully, I'm not sure what the schools are allowing you to have access to, but hopefully it's this Pro version. Okay, let's see. Next question. from Bonnie, how do you change or set the background? Yeah, okay, cool. Let me also share my screen one more time. So again, I have to show you it here because I can't show you what I'm seeing from the background. So at the bottom, there's this, all the way on the left, there's audio and video controls. And if you install Snap Camera, by default, you get virtual backgrounds. It may be a setting that you have to enable in that list of settings. So when you choose virtual setting, so what I'll do is I'll do this now, choose a virtual background, and I will choose the Golden Gate Bridge. Now, that's my background. And what you can do is you can actually add, I think I can show you this. Can you all see that? Can you see the settings? Alex, can you see the settings?
Yep.
Awesome. So the kids can, you can choose the defaults here. This is actually a picture that I took and uploaded. So you can add your own backgrounds as well. You can see it's a little weird, it does some weird stuff. So that's what comes as part of Zoom. And then Snap Camera is an additional add-on that I added. And I think you might be able to see this little plugin all the way at the top up here. So when I open Snap Camera, I get this gallery of backgrounds that I can choose from, which the kids can go nuts and have fun with those, especially for all the kids that are on Snapchat. Maybe some inappropriate things in here, I'm realizing, because I see some interesting pictures. So I'm not sure. You may want to review those first. That's Snap Camera. So those are the two options for video. Cool. Okay. Chat. Okay, let's see. Bring this down here. Debbie asks, are all these screen sharing features available on the free version? Yeah, yes, they should be. I think even the free version has screen sharing, but this is one thing that I don't know enough about. I've been using Zoom for 4 years, 3 or 4 years. So I've lost track of what was in the free version when I originally was using it versus the pro version. Where do you find the engagement feature? Let me show you. So engage, focus, attention tracking. So one of the features, here it is here. So if you go into your Zoom, and it's zoom.us, and then you log into your account. Unfortunately, you can't do a lot of these things inside the Zoom software itself on your computer. You have to go to the website. So attention tracking is one of those. So it lets the host see an indicator in the participant panel, blah, blah, blah. You could turn that on and off. I think for a lot of these, once you enable them, you have to quit the software and come back into it, and then you see it working. Let's see, I'm just looking for question marks. Engagement feature, okay. Yeah, so when I'm screen sharing, so in general, what I tend to do is if I'm trying to teach a lesson, I know that you probably put a lot of work into the Google Docs that you create or the documents that you share, or if you're using Schoology or all these other things where you put your assignments and lesson plans into. What I like to do is still own the experience by sharing my screen to make sure that everybody's looking at the same place. And so what might have been happening is before, as one person mentioned, that it was hard to see. So Mural allows me to zoom in pretty deeply into that. And you can do similar stuff. So as soon as you're sharing your screen, you should be able to zoom in. I think there's also Zoom settings. There's the ability to zoom your camera within Zoom as well. I want to know how to access this board later. Does this? Yeah. So what you can do in Mural. So I didn't cover permissioning because maybe that's something that Ward can take if you guys have follow-up questions about Mural's permissioning. But what I did when I created this this board was there's a few different ways that I can share. So Alex, Stephanie, and Santi, I invited them into the space itself. So you can see when I click manage, they're all in here as they have access and permissions to do stuff in the board. That requires them to sign up for an account. So if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to have kids signing up for Mural accounts, which probably makes sense, then you would go into share. You can go to the anonymous link and you can copy that. And there's a couple settings that you can mess around with in Mural. But when I share that link, then anyone that I share the link with can go into the Mural. And when they come into it, you'll see that you're an anonymous, those people with the anonymous link, they come in as anonymous turtle, anonymous snake, etc. But that's nice and easy because it makes sharing super simple. So I didn't actually answer your question. This mural will be available forever. I'll just keep it up and you can come back and check in on the questions. Maybe we'll add some additional resources as we come back together and think about things that we didn't have a chance to cover. I see Alex is already working on affinity mapping and sorting. Nice, Alex, thank you. Let's see, Claire asked, do students need an account to access and or interact with Teacher Mural? So I hope that my answer about what I just shared, and I just realized that you're all still on mute. So let me unmute you all. If you have to mute because craziness is going on, that's totally fair, but I want to unmute you in case in case I didn't answer your question. So you're now all unmuted. And you can remute as you care to. Okay, next question. Hey, Heather. In your opinion, how does Loom compare to Screencastify? I don't know. Has anyone used Screencastify?
I've used Screencastify, and a lot of schools appreciate that because it links with their G Suite for Education account. I'm not sure if Loom does that. I'm sure it does. Jay, you might know more than I do.
No, I don't think it does. But you think it's similar in terms of like the features it allows you to do, just basically record your screen and share that?
Right, yeah, so from what you were demonstrating with Loom, yeah, Screencastify works similarly. Yeah, again, like teachers like it because when you record something, it automatically goes to a student or teacher's Google Drive. And if you have a school account, you have unlimited storage, so it's pretty nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is Debbie. I used Screencastify for the first time the day before yesterday. They currently have a 5-minute limit, so you have to be able to talk fast or record multiple parts of a lesson. I found it a little bit difficult to get the right link embedded into the show that I wanted, but after a little trial and error, I did figure it out. I'm interested in trying Loom to see how it compares.
Got it. Thanks, Debbie. Yeah, and I still use the free version of Loom. I've been using the free version for a couple of years now. In fact, I didn't even know there was a pro version until Alex asked me if I had that. So I've been really happy with the free version. Bonnie is asking, actually pretty timely, if you're looking at my screen, you're seeing Stephanie and Alex moving these Post-its around. So if you tried to move stuff around and you're like, it's not working, that's because as the facilitator and the owner of this mural, what I tend to do, and I should have covered this earlier, what I do is I lock down a lot of the elements. So for example, I can unlock this, and what might happen is a kid takes it and accidentally drags it off the screen or deletes it. And if you keep all of your stuff unlocked, then anyone inside the mural can wreak havoc on what you've organized so nicely. So I go in and I lock down all the things that are just basically things to be read and understood. And then all of these stickies and all of the other things that I want anyone coming into the mural to be interactive, I leave those things unlocked. So even this stuff, like if I were to unlock this, I can move this around, I can make it bigger, I can right click on it, I can add comments, which is a pretty cool feature. So if there's a particular thing that you wanted to share with one of the students, you could add a comment and then you can mention them. So I can mention Alex and say, do you like this video? And then he'll get a notification that I left him a comment on a particular asset inside of the mural. Okay, we're doing good. Dana asked, my K-1 teachers are wondering the best video conferencing tool for that age group. Would you recommend Zoom? I would recommend Zoom, but I don't know from a security standpoint. So I know my kid's mom works in the Old Bridge School District in New Jersey, and their rule is no Zoom because of privacy concerns. So I don't know about its encryption standards and privacy protocol and all those things. I do know that it's a massively successful company and that they do have a solution for education. So I'm guessing that they thought about those things, but I can't say for certain.
Another solution might be Adobe Connect. They are used very widely by schools. And I know that they are uphold the highest privacy information standards, so they should be okay.
Awesome. I'm going to add a note in here for that. Adobe. I can't see that, so I'm not sure I spelled it right.
Adobe Connect also has some features that might make it even more engaging with littler kids. They have a whiteboard, so you could draw things out on a whiteboard, and they have the ability for you to share an image and have all the kids draw onto that as well. So just some different levels of interaction there.
Cool. Awesome.
We have a bunch of questions about kindergarten. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about the littler kids for a minute.
Yeah. Do you want to take that?
Sure. So I think your key there is really look at how to get the parents to support your activities. So you will want to get everybody together, kids and parents, in a virtual room and talk about the activities for the day. Make them your partners. So perhaps you're going to assign things that the kid and the parent could do on their own. There are a ton of resources out there right now. And I think for kindergarten teachers, these are particularly helpful because you aren't going to have the time to go and animate stuff by yourself that drives that younger kid engagement. In the additional resources section, I put a little purple Post-it note with a link to a resource directory from, I think the organization is called Learning Goes On, or Learning Keeps Going. That is a resource directory that was put together by a nonprofit organization, and it has in there the grade level that all of the content is targeted to, and almost everything in there is free right now. So pick some cool activities that are aligned with your learning goals and objectives. There's a bunch to choose from, and have students and teachers go, or students and parents go complete those activities, and then come back and have conversations about it. You can send little kids into breakout rooms with their parents to have one-on-one conversations, or you can do things like draw on the screen together. There's a whole bunch of ways that you can get their engagement even in a virtual environment.
That's great. Thanks, Stephanie. There was a question about...
Hey, Jay?
Yes.
Hey, Jay?
Yep.
It's Ward here. I'm happy to share. We actually received this from a kindergarten teacher, and I can share a mural.
Oh, hold on.
Just pull it up. Share my screen if it's okay. Somebody would like to give me permission to share, Jay, I'd be happy to show it.
Okay.
Just an easy way that somebody could use.
Go ahead. Can you share
Thank
now?
you. Yeah, thanks, Jay. So, are you able to see my screen now, Jay?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. So this is what one kindergarten teacher is using. Very, very simple use case. Nothing is robust as what Mr. Malone was leading us through, but I'll zoom in. And basically, this teacher is using this to lead her morning meeting. So she assigns somebody a morning helper and makes it a display. She's going through the calendar to keep the students on track. they go through and do a little weather exercise. How many days we've been in school. She does a very simple numbering, and so she just uses this as a way to share kind of the essential activities for their morning meeting, because their classroom is, of course, dramatically different in the remote environment. But anyway, I just felt like I shared, and I'll add the link to the larger canvas, Jay.
Thanks for doing that.
Another thing for kindergartners is having them record little videos and having them submit them back to you. As long as you have a safe environment to share those in, it's a great way to get them to respond to anything that you do with them. Sending them to read a story or have a story read out loud to them, get their feedback through those quick little videos. They love capturing them and then watching them and then sharing them with their teachers.
To that, there's also to what you just mentioned, there's a really cool product called Flipgrid.com, which does exactly that, but it also allows for video discussion. So their peers could kind of have conversations back and forth, like asynchronously. So you can give maybe a prompt like, how was your day? And they would talk about your day, and then the other kids could respond. It's a lot of fun with that.
Alex, I'm really glad you brought up Flipgrid. That's become a really popular app that a lot of middle school classes that I'm working with use. And to add to this, I put it in the chat, but something that works similarly to to Mural is an app called Padlet. Very similar. You can use it to add sticky notes, and it's a good way for young kids to get onto sites and test out the collaborative features that we're doing right now.
Yeah, I'm going to capture that so I don't lose it. Okay. There was a question about nonverbal feedback. So actually, let me share my screen really quick. It is a setting inside of Zoom. It's right here. So by enabling this, students will be able to raise their hand and tell you to slow down or go faster or answer yes, no. I think we're through the chat, and then we're coming up on the hour. Maybe we can get into some of the questions in the post-its. Vineet was asking if Osmose can be integrated with Mural. I hope I didn't skip any questions. Is the link to the Mural at the top of the very chat? Yeah, the very top link was another mural that I created to organize myself. And then the second link at the top of the chat was this board that we're looking at. That was, okay. And then Vinny asked, can Osmose be integrated with Mural? Does anyone know what Osmose is? I'm not familiar with it. Okay. That can be a follow-up. Ward, have you ever heard of Osmose, or if you know that there's an integration with Mural with it?
News to me, my friend.
Okay. Cool. Oh, I see what you said. Don't know about Osmose. Okay. Let's see. Questions.
Raise my hand. There we go.
Early.
Okay, last question is from Vinny, and then maybe there's a few minutes, 1 minute left or so. How can a break or a recess be simulated online, specifically where students can interact in smaller groups, breakout rooms? There's a lot of stuff that you can do. So in the workshops that I do in person, there's energizers and icebreakers and eye openers that I'll lead just to get the blood flowing, or also introduce a topic but having fun with it. And there's also a whole world of things that you could do while students are sitting in their own home and over a Zoom call. I do an energizer that I do is called Dance Circle. So like I have everybody stand back and facing their camera, and they have to do a dance move, and everybody has to go around and imitate the dance move, and everyone's dancing at the same time until everyone's doing it. And then the second person has the next dance move, and everyone has to do that until we go around. Mural also has, Ward, I don't know if you can find it more quickly than I can, but there is, Amelia shared it with me a while back, but there's like a blog post or an art or something that you guys organized with like energizers and icebreakers, just fun things that you can do to get the kids having fun. If you can't find it, I'll go and find it and I'll drop it into the resources.
I'll find it. I'll find it. Go on. I'll find it.
Thanks, man. So let's see if there's anything else. Try Padlet. Was that Flipgrid? Anne asked, was it Flipgrid? I think it was Flipgrid, and we'll go and find that. Oh, Santi left the note. So we'll also leave that link in the mural. Alex and Stephanie, you guys have been organizing those questions. Thank you so much for doing that. Was there anything else? Stephanie, you covered kindergarten. Was there any other like theme that you wanted to just spend a few minutes talking about?
There was a big theme around STEM. I feel like we touched on that a little bit, but I'm not sure if we went deep enough.
So maybe after this, we can just leave some answers or some ideas around STEM that they can come back to.
There were a couple questions around assessment and how to get authentic assessments in a virtual environment. And I think you want to look for non-traditional assessment methods there. Look for open-ended questions rather than multiple choice questions. If you are concerned about plagiarism in those open-ended questions, there are a bunch of websites that allow you to upload documents and check for plagiarization, and you can actually have your students run them through before they even submit them to you. And I'll put a link to that tool into this mural board. You could also do assessment live in a Zoom meeting. You could have all of your students there and you could watch them complete their assessments just as they were in a classroom as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that includes Kahoot and all those other sort of response systems that you might be using currently. You can totally still use those virtually.
Very cool. There was one question, can you see all participants at the same time? Yes, and I'm doing my best to find it. So I can go to speaker view. So all the way up at the top, you can change how you see what you're seeing in the Zoom call. I'm not sure what default is, but there's a speaker view. So then you'd be looking at whoever is currently talking. And there's the gallery view. And if you have more than 50, which I doubt is going to be a thing, but if you have more than 50, there's a way to expand it to show up to 50 people at once on a screen. And then what happens is once you go beyond that limit, you'll just see arrows left and right, and you can pan through everybody. But yeah, the gallery view is how you see just about everybody on the call or in your classroom. So we're just about up at the hour. Is there anything burning that your virtual classroom is going to combust tomorrow if you don't have an answer to this? Anything that you want us to cover that we didn't cover? I'm sure there's definitely stuff in these yellow stickies that we didn't get to, so we'll go through them as best we can.
And like I mentioned, definitely take a look at the site that I've been pulling together. I'm going to add in more after I look at all the questions you have. I'll add more answers there as well. I'm actually meeting with my town's principal tomorrow, so to sort of show them a bunch of stuff. So yeah, the more the merrier.
That's me, Alex. I'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, hey. I'll see you tomorrow.
And cool. So there was one last question, which is a perfect way to wrap up. This board, I'm just going to leave available. So there's no reason for me to delete it or otherwise get rid of it. Hopefully in a couple months, you all won't need these tools as much as we need them right now. Hopefully things will get back to normal as quickly as possible. But in the meantime, I'll leave the board up. You have our contact information off to the side over here. If for any reason you had trouble getting into the mural, let me know. And what I'll also do is we'll follow up with a quick email just to recap some of this stuff. And there will also be a link again to this mural. And you can share that link with anybody. Anybody will be able to go into this and have anonymous access to it and read through it. Thank you all for joining us. I hope that this was somewhat helpful. I hope it somewhat relates to what you're trying to do. I don't know, I work in a very different environment than what you all are used to. God bless you all for what you do on a daily basis. But I hope that this was helpful. And if there's more questions, please do follow up with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, San Francisco.
Bye from
care,
New
everyone.
Jersey.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.